What if you could turn just about any video on YouTube into content for your blog, for a YouTube video script, for social media, or just about any other purpose that you have? What I'm going to show you is how to extract up to 30 minutes of content from a video, and it also supports over 110 languages. What tool am I talking about? It's called Kateb, and this is a tool that I personally use for a lot of my content because it has fact checking built in and it's very reliable. The reason why I use this is because if you use ChatGPT, it is not reliable, especially if you're using it through 3.5 or version 4. It is capped off at a date of September 2021. Anything after that, it doesn't have knowledge of. And if you do have the paid version of ChatGPT, you're able to use web sources. But the thing is that Kateb has been developing this engine for multiple years. And so they have a heads up when it comes to creating a fact-checking AI generation system. So let's go ahead and get some news that has just come out recently that is beyond the language model of GPT and use that as a content source to then create a lot of content. By the way, this is Charles Draven from InfoSpike, where I show people how to make money online using simple automated solutions. So today this is going to be AI focused, and hopefully you'll see the power of how I can create content very fast using Kateb. Let's jump into Kateb, and I'm going to show you an example. And what I mentioned earlier is that this tool will help you create content from just about any YouTube video. However, it must have transcriptions enabled. So let me just jump into the dashboard here. I just want to show you how to go into this because it might be confusing for some. If you jump into the dashboard and you see YouTube Writer, this is great for extreme short content, or if you want to do a lot of generation and editing in your content, but I like automation. So I'm going to use this article writer, which is great for creating long form fact checked content. So I'll click on that and we'll jump into this interface that I saw earlier. And then what I'm going to do is pick a source of content that has captions enabled. So if I go into this right here, I'll play it. And what you'll notice is that this right here, it says subtitles, closed captions, unavailable. So that can create a problem. So what I want to do is look for videos that have it enabled. So let's go ahead and just put Venice bus crash in Italy and see what content is available. Let's see what filters are available. And let's say this week, something new. And let's see if this has captions enabled. It doesn't. And it might be because it's very new. This one says CC, so let's go ahead and jump into this. Let's wait for this commercial to pass. And it can take time for captions to be enabled, especially if they just uploaded the content. It takes time for YouTube to ingest the content and generate the captions. But fortunately, this has captions, so that is a good thing. Let's see if we could use this. And this is only 30 seconds of content. So how am I going to create long form content with only 30 seconds of content? So what I can do is I could use this as context, and I'll show you a workaround, but let's see if there's any other content available on this that has closed captions available. Because this is like very new, you know, it just happened not too long ago. So let's see, there are a lot of sources that are brand new without captions. 31 seconds is not that much. So let's see. This is 1 hour and 52 minutes. Sunday night. This is probably something else. Okay, so I'm going to show you how you could use YouTube, but also additional sources. So here we go. Let's go ahead and plug in YouTube. Let's see if this works. First of all, if it doesn't, I'll have to look for another topic. Click on that. Pasted the YouTube content, that's good. And then I'm going to get this right here. And this happened 19 hours ago. So let me just modify this and put October 3rd, 2023. And I'll explain why. Put this here, and I could always modify that title later. But from 1 minute of content, let's say 1 minute of content is roughly about 100 words, roughly 120, 150 words. And we want to magnify it 4 times to 500 words. And if you have a YouTube video, like let's say 30 minutes, then you could go ahead and max it out. And the max here is up to 2,500 words. And for this, again, from 1 minute of content, I'm going to make it 500 words. So that's actually a very big jump already. Let's just go ahead and proceed where it'll generate the outline, the table of contents. And since I'm using this content YouTube, it will just use the content for from that single source. But what I want to do is that I want to grab additional data outside of that channel. This is kind of advanced, but you'll see what I'm talking about soon. So let's go ahead and change the writing perspective to second person. If you use first person, that makes it more personal, but then it's going to have more personal references. So since I'm not part of this news, I'm going to use for first person. And then tone, I could put friendly, but sometimes I'll change it to, like, let's say a different writing style of Bill Gates. Any person you can think of that's popular, and to change that. So since I want to magnify this, I'm going to find some general subheadlines here, some subheadings if possible. Details about emergency response efforts. I could add Google as an additional data source for knowledge. Let's dive more into the injuries. Same thing with statements from officials. Discussion on the importance of bus safety protocols is grayed out, but I can go ahead and add that. Proposed measures. And let's just add this. And then I'm going to beef it up again, add more content through Google in addition to YouTube. So it could use YouTube as context to find content in Google. And the good thing is that I put the date here. So hopefully it will find content that is recent on Google. And there we go. Let's go ahead and start generating. If you're creating a blog post, there is this option to add images. I personally don't use it, but you can if you want. And let's go ahead and start generating. And for people that are curious, I'll just go ahead and enable it. Sometimes it will have duplicate images, and it'll just take more time for me to remove it, but you'll see what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and start generating. And I'm using ChatGPT 3.5 right now, which is faster than version 4. If I was to use a version 4 in this demo, it would exceed the length that I'd want for this video. Sometimes it could take like 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how long the article is. So you'll see that it uses images from other sources. For me, I'm very careful on the sources of images. I don't want to get in trouble, especially using other popular resources. You want to avoid any legal issues while producing content. If you're using this for YouTube, using images, typically some people will say that you could use these images for like less than 7 seconds through Creative Commons or other legal avenues. So you can check that out. Let's wait for this to generate here. So it's mentioning the date multiple times. And so what you can see here is that it's creating intros. So I often remove those or modify them so it makes sense within the article. Images are similar here. This one is less zoomed in compared to this one. And if you do need additional images, they may not be from the scene, but you could find relevant images on places like Pixabay or unsplash.com. And those resources, they provide royalty-free images. Okay, more images. If I was going to create like let's say a faceless video, have some B-roll, I would actually use these images again for like less than 7 seconds. And you can see that there are citations here. And if I didn't select Google, then it would just use the video, and that video would be the main reference. But because I selected Google, you'll find additional citations. So we have AP News, we have Reuters, those are authoritative news websites. So those would be useful if you want to link out to external websites. And we have some more here. So let's see, CNBC, New York Post, Reuters, and New York Times. Sometimes you'll find that it will provide duplicate citations just depending on the section. And that's normal too. Like let's say that you're researching 3 resources, those can be spread out through the article, and they could, possibly be cited in the beginning and the end, same reference. So it's almost done. Just letting this run through so you can get an idea of how long it takes to generate an article of this size. And that's it. Once it turns green, it's done. And we have some images here. Click on View Article. Once you click on that, then it saves it into its internal database. I selected 500 words, but the reason why it went beyond that, if you recall, I selected additional subheadings, H2s, H3s, and when you put a cap, it will try to select as many subheadings that can generate that length of content that you want. But I often produce more, and one of the reasons why is because sometimes you need to remove content, and that will reduce the word count. So fortunately, it excluded the conclusion. Sometimes it will create its own conclusion, which is good in this case where it didn't add that. So looking at this content, this is actually pretty good. It didn't create many internal conclusions, within the content. Sometimes each section, before it goes into another H2 or major heading, it will create a conclusion for each section, and I don't see it here, which is good. So that's how you can create content using YouTube. And If you want to get more information from the citations and make sure it's actually pulling from the right information, you can look at the references here. And looking at the URLs, these look like they are the correct news. And all of these are actually authoritative, so that's a good thing. Sometimes it will pull in some junk content, like some people create spam and they're able to rank it on Google on the first page, and sometimes it'll grab content from there, but that's good. It actually created content from a lot of great resources. So again, this is Charles from InfoSpike, where I show people how to use simple solutions to make money online, and by creating valuable content, you'll be able to rank in the search engines, whether you're posting this into your own blog or using YouTube. And if you want to learn more, make sure that you like and subscribe to InfoSpike.